Hey everyone, welcome back to A Tribe Called Dhillon podcast. I'm Angie Dhillon.
And I'm Rose Dhillon.
And I'm Alvin Dhillon.
And guess what? Today you're in for a treat. Super inspiring story. You are going to want to watch this episode. We got Casey Coles in the house with us today. Casey has spent quite a bit of time in Hollywood pursuing the Hollywood dream, and he's going to shed some light into all things about the industry, the buzz, and what it's like to be in show business. So the tribe is super excited to be in conversation with him. So Casey Coles, and the name says it all.
Go Casey.
Yo, I can't thank you enough for that introduction. It's been a crazy journey. It's always been something I've always wanted to do my whole life, was pursue, performing arts, music, just the entertainment industry in general. And that ended up becoming, my goal as a young artist, performer. I grew up here in Bellingham, Washington, and I have a mother and father that met overseas. Very crazy story. I could get into that just so you guys know a little bit about who I am and where I really came from. My dad, he was in the Peace Corps and, went to West Africa, met my mom, in Cameroon, a place called Boya. And spent years over there, fell in love. It's kind of like, that jungle fever type story. But, and then they had me, got married, in the jungle, which is crazy. And, my whole life, my dad from day one showed me Hollywood films stating like, this is who you could be. This is, I want something better for you. I feel like actually like that was one of the reasons why they named me Casey Coles. It's kind of funny. My mom, she loved Chevy Chase. So like when I got the name Casey Coles, I feel like they kind of were like, no, he's going to be something, my aunt, her name is, Frida. She goes by Zora. She's done a lot in the community, with, hair and products. And she even has an institute which teaches women and men to cut and style hair and gets people ready for the industry. She had always called me Casey Masterpiece. And I think it's kind of funny because I feel like she got that idea from the barbecue sauce or something. But, I don't know. Maybe I was the right recipe. You know what I mean? She felt like I was a masterpiece. But yeah, long story short, I mean, my folks, fell in love. We came here to Washington. My dad went to Western, and got me into school. And like I was saying earlier, watching movies was like one of the number one things that we did as like a family gathering. We would, meet together. Dad would work all day, blue collar job. Mom was a nurse. And, it was like pizza and movies at the end of the night. And that's kind of how we got together for those few hours. And, I fell in love with film, obviously from day one. I feel like everybody kind of was hyping me up too. And so it was just like one of those things, like, I was like, I think this is what I'm supposed to do. I think I'm destined for this. Kind of was like the clown of the family, I had a lot of energy. There had been Christmases where mom burnt the turkey. Like dad worked his butt off, could only afford so much, it's not about the gifts. It's about, family and just being together. But I recall our family being so down multiple holidays. And I kind of was always like, you know what, why are we down? We're together. We have a week off. We have 2 days off. Like we were together. And so I just kind of remembered always trying to bring the family together. And, I kind of felt like at a young age, I needed to, do something big with my life so that I could repay my father for all his hard work. And, obviously my mom as well, and just keep everybody together and inspire everybody. And so, I fell in love with music. I fell in love with performing arts. I met up with a group of guys here in Bellingham, Washington. We were making music at the time. We actually were a group called 360'd. It kind of was like a parody to like our area code 360, but an ode to something. And we actually were a hit for a while. This was about 2010, I would say, about 2008 to 2010. We were doing shows at all the major hotspots, and we got a nice little buzz going on. We ended up selling like merchandise, CDs, and all different types of things. And at that point, we realized that it was possible, and I realized it was possible more than anything. I kind of always felt like I was one of the front men. I don't like to boast or brag or anything like that, but I just kind of felt like I spent more time focusing on the craft, and I took it a little more serious. We actually had a manager at the time steal about $10,000 from us, and it destroyed everything we had built. Because everybody was doing it off love. We all had trust in one another, and it was like we had graphic design artists to like promoters to obviously engineers and producers, just everything. We were all working together, and nobody was getting a paycheck. Nobody was asking for $1. We all just believed in the whole deal. And actually at that time, when the manager ended up stealing money, we had no idea we were making money. So we had been doing shows. Yeah. And we had been getting paid, but we had no idea. And so anyways, he stole, about $10,000. It's not a lot of money, but I mean, when we were young like that, trying to figure it out, it kind of destroyed us. But I didn't really give up on the dream itself. I never really gave up on the dream. I actually, continued it after, that had happened. Most of them kind of broke off and tried to do their own thing. I tried to keep everybody together. And when I did it, I made sure everybody knew this is what we're making. We're taking the door. We're taking a part of the bar sales because it's a Monday or a Tuesday night. And I'm splitting it evenly accordingly, to everybody's task. And so I tried to do that for a little bit. And I realized I was like, you know what? This is great. I feel like there was a lot of heartbreak that kind of came from it. The friendship wasn't there like it was there in the beginning. And so I felt the need to take it to Hollywood, and I enrolled into LA Film for recording, audio engineering, which it's funny because a lot of people ask me, why'd you do that? Why didn't you go to MI, which is the Musicians Institute? It's targeted for musicians, people like me, you know what I mean? Artists and whatnot. And I had always believed in myself as an artist, but for some reason, from just like learning how my mom operated and how my dad operated, I just feel like I kind of absorbed, the way they went about life, and they kind of went the safe way. And so like my dad, he's a mechanical engineer. My mom went to medical school. They did what they needed to do in school to guarantee a place in the work field. And so obviously as an artist, it's like you're kind of taking a chance on yourself. You're taking a gamble. You're hoping that like, hey, I got it. I got what it takes. I hope it works out. Right. And you're obviously putting all the energy into it, but there's no like guarantee that says like, hey, you are supposed to be here because you know what you're doing, even though with time and, like experience and whatnot, you can gain that respect. But I feel like going to school for audio engineering was going to put me in the music industry, and it was going to give me the knowledge I needed to know. It was going to put me around the people I wanted to be around, and give me that ticket in the door saying like, I'm supposed to be at this soundboard. I'm not here hoping for anything. I'm getting paid to be here, and I know. So yeah, I went to LA Film. And
what year is this, Casey, that you went to?
LA Film. So that was like right after. So we did the 360 thing here in Bellingham for a few years. And then it was probably about 2012 when I left to Hollywood. I packed my bags with, I think, $500 in my pocket, with a little bit of help from my dad. Of course, he's always believed in me. He's always had my back. And he kind of looked at me and was like, are you sure you want to do this? And I was like, yeah, I think this is what I got to do. I can't see myself going to school to be a carpenter or something else like that. So, yeah. So anyways, yeah, I went with that, and got to LA, and the school was great. I'm not going to lie. The school, I think it was the dean was Diana Ross. So she was a huge part in that. Yeah. Wow. That school. Yeah. LA Film. Yeah. You check it out, research it. And I knew from day one too, speaking to, one of the administrative representatives that was trying to get me into the school. I asked her right away, because I had my little sheet of notes. I'm like, I got to know if this is the right school. And I was like, so what's the graduation rate? And she told me, she was like, it's about less than 70%. And I'm thinking like, oh, that's not great. You know what I mean? Like, you're telling me not too many kids actually graduate from this school. And it could mean because maybe it's Hollywood, the distraction of Hollywood, California, you know, like a lot of us actually leave our homes. Like me personally, I was like, I'm going somewhere sunny. I want to be somewhere nice. And you know what I mean? It's like, and then you get there and it's like, it's a whole different world, and you're trying to like focus, but it's so hard to focus because there's so much of this new world around you going on 24/7. You're trying to be somebody, but you're not familiar with your surroundings, you know? And so you're constantly adjusting and learning new ways. And I mean, I used to walk the street like with my fist balled, sad to say. Like, Hollywood is a beautiful place, I'm going to tell you that. But yeah, it's kind of scary. It's kind of scary. It's kind of dark. I feel like I kind of got a little bit off topic, but I want to go back to what I was talking about, the school. So yeah, I was in the school, and I actually got to about 12 months. It was an 18-month program. I got to about 12 months, and for some random reason, the school wanted to do a background check on me. Why I had gotten in trouble as a kid. I had gotten, I think it was a minor in possession. I think there was like a fight I got into. And when I was applying for the school, they gave me that option to list what my charges were if I had charges as a kid. Okay. So, these charges took place when I was about 19. I'm enrolling for college at about 24. So it was a little bit later. I was in the work field. When I got to that part, I actually, specifically said, because I actually really didn't even know how to write it. I didn't even, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't know the exact charges. I could have looked it up, but in the moment I was like, you know what? I said, yes, I do have charges. And then in the box where it gives you the option to explain what charges you have, I said, will explain if asked. And so that's how I left it. Cause I just didn't know. I was young, trying to figure it out. And, with that application, they still reviewed that and accepted me into that school. Mm-hmm. And they never asked me anything about it. They never asked about my charges or anything. They said, come to the school. You got the financial aid. Great. We'll see you. And I moved there. And so for some random reason, maybe they were reviewing my application 12 months in. For some random reason, they did a background check on me, and I got called to the dean's office. I was never able to actually speak to Diana Ross or anybody higher up. And they expelled me. They kicked me out of school, and they said I lied on my application, which isn't true. But,
how much did this cost you? How much did you pay them? Because they obviously didn't give you a refund.
Oh, I'm still in debt about $30,000.
Wow.
Yeah. And I still have to pay them. Yeah. And I think I've made a few payments, and then I've done my deferred for a little bit, but I actually wanted to fight that because there was this, loan forgiveness thing that was going on. I'm like, there's got to be some way that I can fight this. You know what I mean? It's an all for profit school. I wonder how many kids, students with dreams they've done this to. It's like, oh yeah, we see that. Okay, we're going to accept them. And then when they have moved and left everything behind them, we're going to say, because even at that moment, they said, we don't discriminate. We don't discriminate. But we feel like you lied on your application. We know the charges now. And so if you list those charges and reapply, you will have to start the program over from day one. You will have to get financial aid all over again. And yes, even though I was 12 months into the program and I was done in 6 months, they wanted me to do the whole thing over again. And I thought to myself, I was like, so wait, does that mean that I'm paying for another degree pretty much? And they're like, well, yeah, you still owe us for the first 12 months. And we want another 18 months out of your pocket, pretty much. And Yeah. So anyways, this is LA Film School. They don't have the best reviews, and I am not afraid to put them on blast, because for them to do that to a young kid,
Right.
or a young man, I should say, with dreams and hopes, and I passed all my classes. I paid my tuition. I was there every day, for them to do that to somebody and say, well, you moved from Seattle. What else do you have?
Casey,
So
I have
anyways,
a question for you. I have a question for you. Do you feel at that time, I don't know, like you were saying, this was in 2000 and was it 12 or 2014 that you were attending?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that there was some element of prejudice and discrimination going on?
You know what? It's hard to say, because the majority of the school, was full of color.
Okay.
Like, I feel like actually, the Caucasian race was actually like the minority in that school. That school was, it was every other race besides, white. And, that was actually one of the first things I noticed too. I was like, holy cow. Like, I came from Bellingham, Washington, where it was the opposite, and I don't care whether it's this or it's that, you know what I mean? Like, I love all people. My dad, he's Norwegian, and my mom's West African, and I'm proud to be West African Norwegian, and my dad always told me, you judge by character, not by, color of skin. Content of character is key. So, that was great to see that. But yeah, you know what? It's hard to tell, because who knows what's really going on behind closed doors. They're probably like, well, hey, all these, colored kids love music, and it's like, they love this and that. But then again, the film department was I feel like it was very sophisticated. The film department, like, you would see those students and you would be like, oh, those guys are smart. I think they would give them like 2 laptops. They even had a gaming department. So they developed games. So actually a lot of students from that school actually came out to but work on Black Ops, which was a Call of Duty game when it first came out. And they got a bunch of awards, and a bunch of those engineers that worked on that game actually went to that school. So it had its reputation, you know what I mean? And there was a lot of smart and sophisticated. Yes.
To put in perspective, how large is a school? Like, how many students are enrolled at any given time in the school? How many floors is the building?
Oh my God. I wish I could give you a number. I don't know. But it was a skyscraper, and it wasn't just one, it was 2. There were 2 skyscrapers. So probably, 20, 50 floors. It's LA. So it's right there off Sunset. It's right there off Sunset Boulevard, right at the corner of Vine Street. It was a tall building. And there were 2 of them next to each other that kind of connected. I remember taking the elevator to class every day, which was weird. It was new. I was like, am I going to somebody's condo? It wasn't that. It was so weird, because then you get into some of these classes and it's like the entire floor is the class. You know what I mean? And it's just like, dude, I'm up in a building going to school. And so I don't know, but I wish I had a number for you, but I know that they do enroll a lot. I actually see a lot of advertisement on social media for them, promoting their school. And, I'm sure they really do wish the best, but there's people like me that kind of fall through the cracks, and who knows what it really is. You know what I mean? I really hope that they're not trying to, it's not just a money scheme, but at the time it really felt like that. And being poor, growing up, not really having much, like I told you, like my dad, blue collar, my mom was a nurse. And I could go into that story about why my mom didn't continue to be a nurse or a doctor. She would have been a great nurse or a great doctor. But I could talk about that later. I feel like it was definitely a hustle from my experience, because you would think that a school would be like, send your kids to us. We want them to succeed. We're here to help them succeed. That's why they're paying us, or you're paying us to help your kids get to the next level. And then, you kind of get dished out. I called my dad, and my dad he didn't even have anything to say. I feel like, after that, he just kind of always looked at me like, do you ever finish anything? And so that was kind of one thing that kind of hurt me. And it still kind of hurts me today. I feel like even my dad just kind of looks at me like, everything you ever done, the music you did here in town, you know, nothing really came from it. You had fun and then you left and you went to school and then nothing really came from that. And then, after that, with the schooling, I was like, I'm not going to pay for this another 18 months. I got into performing arts, which I had always kind of done. I'd always done video skits, short films. But I was like, okay, well, I'm here in Hollywood, man. Let's take it to the next level. So I got together with this casting agent. Her name was Anne. She's from New York City. She was great. She had my back from day one. And she started booking me gig after gig after gig, audition after audition. And I'm not going to lie, my first one that I did was for an Oreo commercial. That was through Daniel Hoff's office. He's huge out there. He casts for TV, commercials, movies, everything. Like Daniel Hoff is huge. I even got the chance to meet him. But yeah, so anyways, the first time I did that Oreos commercial audition, I was freaking nervous, man. You can't blame, you know, you're in Hollywood. I'm like, I'm supposed to go to school right now. I just got kicked out of school. Now I'm like hungry. I'm eating top ramen noodles. I have no money. I just rode the bus 3 hours to some city called Culver City. You know what I mean? I don't even know where I'm at right now. And you wait in line with 100 other people. And then they're like, okay, you go in and you got like 3 seconds to read whatever you got to read. And it was cold reading. And so it's like, obviously me waiting in line, I didn't have time to prepare with these lines. You know, you walk in and then it's like, all right, they got the board and then you got people behind them. They got the camera and they got the dude that's thinking like, okay, I like his look. And then they got the other dude is like, all right, let's see. Does he project? You know what I mean? How's his body language? Is it good? And, so yeah, that's also intimidating too. I've never seen these people before in my life, you know, and then it's like, okay, go. And I remember reading that. I was like, one, I'm not even the best. Like I can read, but not under pressure like that. But yeah, I remember reading it. And at the end, I was like, one more cookie, please. I swear. I probably had the whole room. They were dying. They were laughing so loud. It wasn't even supposed to be a funny commercial. It wasn't even, but they laughed at me and I was like, oh, is that good? You know, and they're like, okay, thank you. Like, you know, and we'll call you if you got it. And I walked out of there just feeling like I was just, I want to keep it appropriate. Like It was the worst feeling to walk in there, you're stressing and then these people laugh at you. You never get a call. But anyways, that was my very first audition. And I feel like that goes with a lot of other people that act in the industry. I mean, obviously, not everybody's going to hit it off. You know what I mean? They're not going to be the greatest thing.
What is cold reading? So like maybe our audience won't know that because I don't know what that means. What's cold reading?
So cold reading is literally not even knowing what you're going to read and is knowing how to read it when they present it to you in the moment and act it out as you read it to the T. Like, so understanding when to, it is, it's a lot of pressure, understanding how to pause or like, so they kind of give you a second to look at it. So you kind of can like read it in your head. Okay. It says like, yeah, I was at the barbecue with a couple friends. Yeah. Can you believe what she said to me? But you get like a line and then it's up to you to read that as, with emotion, and it's probably one of the hardest parts of acting is doing cold reading and doing it well. You know what I mean? Being on top of your game.
Casey, I got a quick question for you. If we can just back it up.
Please.
You said something so interesting earlier when you were talking about family, and you always felt the sense of responsibility of always keeping your family together. We're very family oriented being Indian, but I wanted to ask you, where did that sense of responsibility at such a young age come from? Like, why did you feel that, I need to kind of keep the family together. I need to enter, like, obviously your personality started to bloom into being the Joker, acting, dancing, and whatever it was. But as a child, if you could take me back, what were you thinking at that age, that sense of responsibility? Like, I got to keep the family together. And maybe, if I act and do stuff, like I'm the entertainer. How did that come out? And like, at what age?
How did it come out? Yeah, let's see. It's, you know what? This is almost like therapy. I actually really appreciate it because I haven't really had the opportunity to really think about it like this and then tell somebody about it. So my older brother, he's my half brother. He has a different dad. My little sister, we're full blood. For some reason, I don't know. For some reason, I just always felt, and like maybe it goes back to like how I mentioned, like they named me Casey Coles, and just like everybody always looking at me as a kid growing up was like, "Oh, you're going to be great, Casey masterpiece." That's how they talk in the African accent, Casey masterpiece. You know what I mean? It's just like maybe it just drilled it in my head that like I was responsible. You know, like I was the leader. Yeah, I don't know. Like I had to lead the way, and I don't know. That's a really good question to ask. I really thank you for asking that because I want to have an answer for it, and I want it to be good. And to be honest, like I could go with the fact that I'm an Aries. Okay, and I feel like a lot of Aries have been determined to be leaders. Have been, suggested that. Or described, I shouldn't say suggested, sorry, described as like very brave, very emotional creatures, and I feel that to my bone. I really do. I really feel like I am all those things. And I've always kind of just like felt like I just had a different energy than my family. And so I don't know, like I can even go back to when we were young. And I'm talking about like maybe, let me see. So we were at that house at Grant Street. I was probably, I want to say like I was 8 years old. I had an older brother, little sister. We went out to dinner. We came back home and there was a smell of smoke in the house. It was a small house. We all shared one bedroom, 3 kids, 1 bedroom. And my mom just flipped out. She was like, what the and it was like, what's going on? It goes into the bathroom. It goes into the bedroom. There was a fire literally starting, and we hadn't been there. We were all having dinner, right? Whatever was going on. And I think what happened, now that I think back about it, is that somebody left a blanket, like a really woolly type blanket, on an old style furnace. And I don't think it was on purpose. I think it was an accident. And maybe when we came home, or maybe actually even them leaving, they probably left the heater on so that when we came home, the house was warm and that had time to do its thing, and then we come in, it was just in time for my mom to see the smoke and put it out, but whatever. And then my mom looks at us because it was in our bedroom and goes, "Who was playing with matches?" And I'm thinking to myself, like, what? I look at my little sister, I look at my brother, we're like, what? We don't play with matches. We don't have any matches. I'm like, you got matches? Like, so, and it's like, I remember in that moment, she was like, somebody's going to tell me who did this. So my mom comes from an African background, they're very strict, very disciplined. I come from an era, I was born in 88, I'm 36 today. I come from an era where your mom whooped your butt. And she whooped it really good. And it didn't even matter what did like, what happened? You didn't even know what happened. You just walked in the door, like, ouch! And then you're running. You got really good at like dodging the sandal. Yeah. You dodge the sandal, and then like it even got to the point where like you're like, my butt is calloused, man. All right, I know what's coming. You're like taking it, you're like, yeah, whatever. And then she's like, oh, this ain't doing it. Okay. And then she would go cut the hose. She'd go outside. She would mess a hose. A hose is probably, maybe back in the day, a hose was a good, decent price. Today with inflation, it's about $200. But I'm just saying, she would go cut a slab. She'd cut a slab of the hose. She'd be like, "Oh, that belt ain't doing it." Yeah, you know what I mean? And then next thing you know, you're like, okay, oh God, that's something new, Yeah. But anyways, sorry, I got off topic. That's kind of funny. I laugh about it. I'm glad she whooped my butt. I don't want to say that I think more kids need to get their butts whooped, but I'm just saying.
We got our butts whooped.
We got our butts whooped.
Did
you?
Okay,
Yeah.
And look at how well you guys turned out. That's what I'm going to say.
That's the era that we were allowed to whoop.
The
Yeah.
jury's out on
The timeouts don't work. I don't get the timeouts now. I remember when my nieces and nephews, when I was married, and they would get timeouts. These kids were so clever. They started putting blankets and books in their timeout sections and would read. I'm like, how is this being disciplined? They're so smart. They're clever. They got blankets or they'd fall asleep. Like, that doesn't teach you anything. And not to say that whooping a kid teaches you anything, because I do think there's an element that when you do whoop your kids, you're breaking them down a little bit. Right. Mm-hmm. There's a way to say, like, smack your hand or something. Don't do that. But the WWF whoopings that we used to get, those were unwarranted.
Yeah.
The wooden spoons, metal spoons.
Those were unwarranted.
And I've seen full binders get thrown. They're like heavy.
Heavy
binders, heavy to carry. I've seen my dad take it with one hand and just throw it halfway across the room, like flying right by me.
Alvin's the baby of the family, so I don't know what he's talking about. He got the least amount of beatings.
No,
I got the most. Then Rose.
He's like, I was a witness.
Amount of beatings.
I was just like watching it from left to right.
See, he was a token boy in the Indian family. Ain't nobody gonna whoop him.
Nobody gonna hit him.
You can whoop me. You gotta catch me first, though. I'm fast.
Yeah. I know, right? We gotta be quick. I know. I was always like, we're gonna do this.
My grandparents used to live right across the street from me, so as soon as I get in trouble, I would just straight beeline it right across the street and take off there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. Casey, you said something interesting. You said, your astrological sign, horoscope, Aries. And I see a lot of my dad in you. My dad, my father, our father is an Aries.
The same thing. When you said emotional, I'm like, that's my father.
To pursue a dream, come to Canada. And kind of, he was the one that was different in his family. He had radical thinking and just, wanted to be different. And you remind me a lot of my father in that way.
Yeah, he's an Aries.
Yeah.
Oh,
wow.
To pave the way and be different. But, the reason I wanted to understand your childhood and get all that is because I think when we have immigrant parents, our childhood is very different than the Caucasian children. The way we're taught to dream and be believers. And, the fact that your father at that, when you were young said, you can be anything that you want. Our parents are telling us now, they see our potential. Now you can be anything you want. But growing up, they wanted us to take the safe route. And I think that was just because our parents didn't want to set us up for disappointment. Because truthfully, I see disappointment all the time. And I say this, like, I'm going to probably get in trouble. It's a white man's world. We're just living in it. We're just adding a little bit of color, and that's just the narrative. And that ain't going to change until we have these types of conversations about diversity and inclusion and belonging. Like, color is beautiful. And, the fact that there's still so much hate today, I don't get it because, if you look at America and you look at Canada, it's built on multiculturalism. That's the beauty, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, and I have so many Caucasian friends and, they understand their privilege. And, I'm understanding all these things now as I'm getting older and having these types of conversations. But, the fact that you went to Hollywood and you're pursuing your passion and, you, like you said, you have to hustle a lot. But that's usually the name of the game with colored people. Right. We have to hustle a lot.
Yeah. You don't get the pass, because dad or mom doesn't know the executive, that's already doing it because it's been like that, generationally. Yeah, no, and you're right. No, it is a hustle for all of us. Oh my God.
And I want to add to that too, because it's not just Hollywood. Like growing up, Angie and I wanted to go to Bollywood, and that was our dream. And my dad, he knew what Bollywood was about, but I don't think he wanted to say the actual words of like, the things that you have to do. So he would tell us like, you're not related to them. You're never going to get in. Like you can go there and you're going to blood, sweat and tears, but they're never going to let you in because you're not a Kapoor, you're not a Khan. You're not one of these. You're never going to get in. So it was just embedded us from a very young age that we could go there, but we're just never going to get in. And then when Angie had the opportunity to go in her early 20s, she witnessed something that she was like, forget the not knowing a last name. You have to do things that you're not willing to do. You have to compromise yourself to get to that next level. And that's what turned her off. And she came back and said, no, I don't think I'm going to pursue this anymore.
And the other thing, Casey, I'm not sure. I'm sure Hollywood is going to have this, but in India, there's gatekeepers, right? There's gatekeepers to getting to the movie, to getting that. Did you encounter gatekeepers? Like you got to do this before you get to that level?
Yeah, most definitely. I won't say any names. But yeah, there definitely are gatekeepers. And that's actually the first time I've ever heard of that you know, person being described like that gatekeeper.
That term.
Yeah,
Right.
that term, right?
Yeah.
But no, it makes sense. It works perfect. Because I mean, you can see in the tabloids today. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's like, I mean, only for a second, I'll touch base on this, Harvey Weinstein and what he went down for, you know what I mean? And how important he was to the industry. Can you imagine how many people he made famous? How many people got their chance because they went through that? You know what I mean? That agency, that whatever. We won't touch too much on that, but yeah, no, I definitely came in contact with maybe one or two, and it's crazy to me because they're just like you and me, and they've been given a role, and they make their money doing what they do. You know what I mean? And it's like, and it's not even necessarily like that they are the ones forcing you to do these things. They're the ones kind of contracting you in to do these things and sending you to these places and kind of like, okay, is this person cool? Is this, how bad does this person want it? You know what I mean? Can I send this person to this private address or meet with my boss or meet with somebody that's below my boss and work your way up? And yeah, no. And I'll be honest, like I'm still friends with, I believe one of those gatekeepers, I believe. And this person's famous. Like I'm still friends. They follow me on Facebook. They still love all my son just turned 6 months. They love that photo. Like this person is a good person from what I've experienced, but I had that, that experience of being casted to somebody, and then you get there and it's kind of like just like this, and you're like, oh, am I supposed to lead the conversation? Like, what's going on? Like, oh, hey, I'm here. Like, and they're like, so so-and-so. And it's like very, very vague. I'm just going to be honest. Like, you almost feel really uncomfortable. You're like, oh, am I supposed to say something? Like, I think they almost want you to say, like, almost like so that they're not incriminating you. I don't know. Maybe this is just a thought. Mm-hmm. Maybe making you say, what do I got to do this? You know what I mean? And then they're like, oh, okay. You've already given permission to everything. You know what I mean? Like, wow. And then you might get that list of what you have to do, or they might have you do something. I don't know. I don't want to end up in a ditch, Hollywood.
That was my next question, Casey. Have you been to a P. Diddy party?
Yeah, well, I know, Casey, you mentioned you didn't go to a Diddy party, but you went to a Jamie Foxx party.
Yes, I've been to a Jamie Foxx party. I've been to many parties. I actually used to work for David Arquette. Now, I don't want to put him in the same bracket as that because David Arquette was an awesome guy. He was one of my favorite bosses I ever worked for. I also worked for this guy named...
Courtney Cox's ex-husband, right? David Arquette?
Yes, David Arquette. Yeah, he was one of my favorite. I'm not saying he's in relation with any of that, but I definitely had the opportunity to party with some A-listers. And even one of my bosses too that cut my check, and he would pay me either in cash, depending on the day, or in a check, was this guy that I probably shouldn't even say his name because I love him so much. I don't even want to bring the attention to him because he's a family man too. His father actually wrote music for Elvis Presley. And so that family got their wealth, through the music industry and whatnot over the years. But no, it was some of the greatest experiences I ever had, working for those guys. And yeah, I did go to a Jamie Foxx party. I was invited, from some friends that I know from actually up here. So I have a friend, Naomi, and another friend, Whitney. They actually ended up moving out there too, which was crazy. And obviously pretty girls get invited to parties, and one thing about Jamie Foxx, though, a lot of people don't know, like if you live in LA, Jamie Foxx is so cool that he literally opens his entire house to LA. If you know about the party and you know what time it is, you can show up and you might get in. You might. I'm not saying you're going to get in, but I'm going to say like you could show up. If you show up with a bunch of pretty girls, you know, and you look like, obviously you don't look like a crackhead or something, you know what I mean? They're going to let you in the door, you know, and it's like, welcome, this party's for LA. And so like Jamie Foxx is huge. Like he was very welcoming. Nothing like that I know of, like went down like the Diddy party situations. I didn't really see any drugs. Just free booze, loud music. It was like one of those events. Like, I mean, if he's opening the door to LA's, you know what I mean? He's not gonna do any of that creepy, freaky, you know what I mean? Cause I mean, obviously Diddy parties were more exclusive. They were the all exclusive VIP events. Which is crazy to me because, I started hearing that there were kids involved and you're like, okay. Yeah. Like at first I was like, so what? He had a party. Yeah. So what? You know what I mean? Everybody had a good time. Yeah. Okay. Everybody got butt naked. So what? You know what I mean? But the next thing you know, it's like, yeah, but there were kids involved. I'm like, oh no, not the kids. Yeah. Like that's messed up.
Casey, what do you think about all this stuff right now? Like I know that Diddy's lawyers are saying that, you know, he's innocent. It's, you know, framing a black man and, you know, and these are all alleged things, right? That's what we want to make clear. There's no factual evidence. It's all hearsay, what we're saying. But my thing is, if you're being raided and, you know, Homeland Security is coming to your, you know, to raid your two properties, Miami, New York, and perhaps LA, they've been watching you, right, for a while. And if they're taking like, you know, like buckets and boxes of tape, there's obviously something there. And my thing is,
where there's smoke, there's fire.
Good people, when you come to their house, they don't take your cell phones away.
Yeah.
They don't lace your drinks and they don't make tapes of you. When you have that many this ain't the White House that you're going to, that you need this kind of surveillance. That was my red flag is like, okay, you know, you've got your security, but to me, that's something a little sketchy.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I mean, it's exactly I'm not going to say exactly, but it's kind of like what Jeffrey Epstein was doing. Right. He was throwing these parties. They were exclusive. People's phones had to be taken at the door. Mm-hmm. You know, they take your phone, whatever, so you can't take pictures of it. And then they're videotaping you. They obviously lace your drink, or they don't necessarily lace it. They provide it. You know, and then it's, you know, you're at a social event, you're hanging out with so-and-so and so-and-so. It's like, oh yeah, we're all doing this. We're all doing that. You know, you kind of feel like peer pressure to do it with everyone. Oh, that's just Jay-Z. You know what I mean? That's just so-and-so. I'm going to hang out with him and do drugs. Like you would never really do that. But I mean,
that's Casey Coles. You're listening to Casey Coles sharing his story of pursuing the Hollywood dream. And what a story, the stuff that he saw. He's got a toolbox and I think a treasure box of stories. And if you like what you saw and heard, please put something in the comments box so we can get this amazing, hilarious, talented individual, young man back on the podcast telling us some more of Hollywood secrets. Until next week, friends and family, take care of yourself. Hit that subscribe button. Check us out on all of our social channels. And we're going to be back next week. Thanks so much. Bye for now. Thanks, Casey.
Bye.
Thank you.
See ya.